As we begin our unit on trig, we are going to start by looking at angles on a coordinate plane, basically is what we're going to do. So we are going to start by looking at how you can draw angles in a coordinate plane with the origin at the vertex and the initial side is the positive x-axis. Well, let's take a look and see what that actually looks like. So what we have here is what we're going to call, here's our coordinate plane. You've got your x and you've got your y, right? Just like normal. We've got our x-axis and we've got our y-axis. And all we are going to do is we are going to start our angle here at the positive x-axis. Our vertex is always going to be the origin. And then what we're calling the terminal side is going to be wherever it ends up at. And we're also going to have what's called a reference angle, where it kind of tells us how far away we are from the x or the y-axis, whichever is more appropriate. Either one would be fine. So like this right here could be a reference angle because that tells us how far away from the x-axis we are. Over here, this right here could also be a reference angle because it tells us how far from the y-axis we are. Depends on, it doesn't matter, either way, it makes it just so you know how far past that axis you actually went or how far you have to go to get to the next axis. So, and if you notice this going from here all the way to here is going to be the angle that we're talking about in this case. And when we're talking about a coordinate plane, when we come this far, this is 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 3/4 of the way is 270 degrees, and then we're at 360. If we start going back around again, then we're going to be at 360 plus 90, which would be 450, and then we come back around again, 360 plus 180, and so on. So we can go around our coordinate plane as many times as we want to get higher and higher angles. Okay, so we're just going to sketch some angles. Okay, so it says sketch an angle with the given measure in standard position on a coordinate plane. All that means is we're going to have a coordinate plane. We're going to start on that positive x-axis and we're going to graph our angle however many degrees it happens to be. And the measure of an angle is positive. I know we've talked about how there's not really negative angles and things like that. When we're on a coordinate plane, it's talking about the standard position and things like that. We can have positive and we have negative based on the direction that we are going. So if it is positive, that means that we are going counterclockwise. And similarly, if it is a negative angle, that means that we are going clockwise. So just a reminder of which is which. Clockwise is going this direction. Counterclockwise would be going in that direction. Okay? So we're just going to sketch a couple of angles here on a coordinate plane. So let's just give ourselves a coordinate plane here. Here's our y and here's our x. Probably make that a little bit longer. And we are going to do 240 degrees. It says include a reference angle that indicates how far you are from the x or the y-axis. So first of all, it's a positive angle, so we know we're going to start here on the x-axis and we are going to go counterclockwise, so we're going to go that direction. And we are going to go 240 degrees. And just a reminder, this would be 90 degrees, this is 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and then back to 360 when we get over here. So if we are going to sketch our angle at 240, we're going to go past, here's 90. Okay, keep on moving. We're moving past 180. And then we need to stop. We don't want to go all the way to 270. We are going to stop short of 270. And this is where our reference angle will come into play. Okay, where how far past 180 did we actually go to get to 240 degrees? Okay, well, we went to get to 240, we went 60 degrees past 180 because 180 plus 60 is 240. So this angle that we have drawn here is a 240 degree angle. Okay, so let's look again over here. Here's another positive angle of 500 degrees. So let's give us our, here's my y, here's my x. Again, in red here, I'm going to start here And I'm going to start close to the center. I'm going to start close to the origin because I'm thinking, all right, let's one more time here. We got 90, 180, 270, 360. Well, we have 500 degrees, which means if I go here, I'm going, oops, red. I'm going, here's 90, 180, 270. I'm kind of making it what looks almost like a snail, as a snail shell starts to roll out a little bit. So here I am, I'm keeping on going. Here I am at 360. Okay, I've pretty much gone all the way around the circle, all the way around. A full circle is 360 degrees. And now I'm going to keep on a trucking, right? So I'm going to keep going, keep going, keep going. Now I'm at 360 plus 90, which is 450. Okay, that's where I'm stopped there. I need to keep on going. I need to go to get to 500. I need to go another 50 degrees. So my reference angle here, my reference angle is 50 degrees because I went another 50 degrees past to get there. So that just tells me, that reference angle just tells me how far past my X or Y axis I went, or how far away I am from one of them. Okay, so that was 2 positive angles. Now we're going to look at a couple of negative angles. Okay, so let's give ourselves a coordinate plane here. Okay, and again, I'm going to start over here. However, this time it's negative 50, which means negative means that I'm going to go clockwise around. Well, I'm only going to go 50 degrees, which means like down here, this would be like negative 90, essentially, if you're thinking about it that way. So we would only go to basically here. This is going to be negative 50 degrees. Okay, so if you're kind of curious, that's how you would actually do that. We're going in this direction. I didn't want to put that little thing right there right now. We are going in this direction, and we are going to stop here, and we only went 50 degrees, so our reference angle would be 50 degrees, or if you wanted to call it negative 50 degrees because that's the actual measure of the angle, that's fine too. Okay, the next one, this is a big angle, right? Now we're talking way bigger than just one time around, because one time around is 360. We are talking negative, which means we are going clockwise. Okay, so again, I always start here on my positive x-axis, and I'm same idea. Here I go. I'm going, here I've gone 90, here I've gone 180, here I've gone 270, here I've gone 360. Okay, all right, now I'm at 360 degrees. I need to keep going. Well, how much further do I need to go to get to 450? I need to go another 90 degrees to get, because right now I'm at 360, right? So to get to 450, I need to go another 90 degrees, which would be, I'm going to travel, 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 and stop on the y-axis in this case, and we would have our negative 450 degrees. Notice when I draw these, I have an arrow that indicates what direction I'm going. See, I have an arrow here, I've got an arrow here. If you'd zoom in here a little bit better, I've got an arrow that tells me what direction my snail shell is swirling, if you will. So that's how we draw angles on the coordinate plane, basically. Our next thing is what we're going to talk about is going to be coterminal angles, okay? The word here is coterminal. All it means when you have coterminal angles is that if you are on the same spot on the coordinate plane, right? So if I'm here, if I have an angle that's like right here, okay? Let's pretend that this is my angle, okay? Let's pretend that it's 45 degrees, okay? To get there, I went from my starting point to 45 degrees and I stopped. Well, I could also go all the way around one more time and stop at the same spot, and I would be in the same location on my coordinate plane with as far as my angle goes. However, I'd be 360 degrees further. So a coterminal angle is basically when you have the same position, however, they're like 360 degrees apart. Like you basically turned yourself all the way around and came back to the same spot. So all we are going to do to figure out coterminal angles, one positive coterminal and one negative coterminal angle. Okay, so in this case, I showed that in this green over here that I have, that I was going in the positive direction. So I would have 45 plus 360 because I went all the way around the circle. Okay, if I had gone all the way around the circle the other direction from here, okay, if I would have went this way, that would mean I would be subtracting 360 degrees because I'm going in the opposite direction. So when we want to find coterminal angles, positive and negative, we're thinking we're either adding or subtracting 360 degrees. We are turning one full circle all the way around. So if I want a positive, I'm going to say 90 plus 360, and then that would be 450 degrees. 90 degrees and 450 degrees are at the same spot. They would be here on our coordinate plane, but they have the same measure because you've gone all the way around another time. So if I wanted a negative coterminal, I would just subtract 360 degrees. And 90 minus 360 is negative 270 degrees. So these two angles, as far as on the coordinate plane, are located in the same position. Okay, so like, let's think here, right? I'll sketch a little picture here. My 90 degree or negative 90 degree angle would be that guy right there, right? I went that direction and I got to negative 90 degrees, okay? So if I wanted a coterminal angle, I would just add 360 degrees. And all that would do is it would take me from my negative 90 all the way around, and I'm back to where I started. And in the positive realm, that would be 270 degrees. Okay, if I wanted a coterminal negative, then I'm going to take negative 90, and I'm going to subtract 360 degrees. Negative 90 and negative 360 is negative 450. So this is your positive coterminal, and this is your negative coterminal angle. Okay, so just do a couple of more examples here if I've got, and I'm not going to sketch them all every time, but if we've got negative 45, if I add 360, that's going to give me 315 degrees. Same location on my graph, just it's coterminal, just a different angle at the same position. Or I could go negative 45 minus 360, which is going to be negative 405. That just means I'm at the same position, just a different number of degrees. Okay, these last two you have to think about a little bit here, because I've got 390 degrees. Okay, so just based on what I've already said, to find a positive coterminal, oopsie, that should be not 360 yet, 395, that's where we are. If I add 360 degrees, I go around the circle one full time, I'm at 755 degrees. That's a positive coterminal angle. Okay, if I do 395 minus 360 degrees, I'm at 35 degrees. That is not negative. That is still positive. This is another positive coterminal angle, which means I'm going to need to subtract 360 again because my angle needs to be negative. So 35 minus 360 is negative 325, and there is our negative coterminal angle. So sometimes to get a positive or to get a negative, the opposite sign, you have to go around the circle more than once. Our last one here, we have negative 45, or excuse me, negative 450. If I add 360 degrees, I'm still at negative 90. That's a negative coterminal angle. I need a positive coterminal angle, which means I need to add 360 degrees again, which is going to be positive 270 degrees. So that is going to be a positive coterminal angle. Here's a negative coterminal angle because we went around once. Here's a positive coterminal angle because we went around twice. I also could have subtracted 360 degrees and got negative 810 degrees, and that would also be a negative coterminal angle. You could come up with a whole list of coterminal angles, because all you'd have to do is keep adding 360 or keep subtracting 360, and you'd keep landing at that same spot on your coordinate plane, which would be all of the coterminal angles. But we are only going to list one positive and one negative. So in this case, on this last example, we have 2 negative coterminal angles that I listed and 1 positive. And this one we have 2 positive coterminals and 1 negative that we listed. But we could have listed more. Okay, last thing we're going to do is, instead of me giving you an angle and you drawing it, we are going to look at an angle that's already drawn, and you're going to decide how many degrees that angle actually is. So we're going to look here. Here's our starting, and I know that we are going counterclockwise, which, so I know that it's positive. Okay, and I'm going to go I'm just following it like I would, follow a line here. I've gone all the way around once, so I know I've gone 360 degrees already. So then I keep going. Got 360, there's another 90, there's another 180, there's another 270. So I'm going to go another 270 degrees. And if I add those together, I get 630 degrees. Because I went around almost 2 whole times. I went around 1 whole time and then another 3/4 of the way. So we have 630 degrees for that one. And on this one, we do have a little bit of a reference angle here that tells us that's 20 degrees that it went past the y-axis. So we are going to start here, let me do green. And we are going in this direction. We're going clockwise, which means I know my answer is going to be negative because I'm going clockwise. So I'm going, here's 90, 180, 270, and then another 20. So I went 270 degrees, and then I went another 20. And so I've gone 290 degrees in the clockwise direction, so it would be negative. And then our last one, look at how many times this has gone around the circle. Looks like we have gone, here's where I'm starting. I'm going in this direction, which means I am going to be going in the clockwise direction, which means my answer is going to be negative. Okay, so here I am. I'm going all the way around, 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 around. That's one time. That's 360 degrees that I've gone around. Okay, now here I go again. I'm going to do a different color, going around, 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 around. Stop. I've gone another 360 degrees. And then it tells me I've gone from here to here is another 60. Okay, so that means I've been 360 plus 360 is 720, and another 60 would be 780 degrees. But since I was doing all of those things in the clockwise direction, my answer is going to be negative.